It really shows that he's not dwelling on the issue. He's trying to kind of show his support, show that he is very much on board of a Kamala presidency, but then ready to move forward and ready to kind of focus on being president for the remainder of his term.
What stood out for you from his speech?
Well, I think what was really interesting is that he, of course, endorsed her in a very big way. We already knew that he had done that, but I think the fact that he was greeted with a lot of "We love you, Joe Biden. We like the crowd was
Joe."
Yeah, the crowd was chanting. But remember the background of this. He didn't want to step down. He didn't want to be in this position. He actually, behind the scenes, reports have suggested that he thinks he still could have won the election, but that it would have done irreparable damage to his party. So imagine still making that DNC appearance with the thought process and with the idea that people are chanting for and appreciating and cheering him on for the very fact that he stepped down, the very thing he did want to do. So the fact that he was still able to deliver a speech, given the issues that he's had in the past with some of his kind of endurance issues, and still be able to do that in the face of that, I thought that was pretty admirable, frankly.
It was a marquee event. Of course, the party, Kamala Harris, did make a quick appearance on stage earlier on in the evening. We heard from Hillary Clinton as well. On that issue, though, of the war in Gaza as being something that potentially Kamala Harris is vulnerable about, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who spoke earlier in the evening as well, got one of the biggest applause lines of the night by saying that Harris was working to bring a ceasefire in Gaza. Is this a difficult issue for the Vice President?
This is a very difficult issue, and this is where she has actually been able to garner more support than President Biden has. Remember, this is the Achilles heel for the Democratic Party right now, and for, I think, Americans broadly. This has become a very divisive issue, as we've seen across college campuses, among many, many other different forums. And one of the issues with President Biden, and we were expected to see it with the nominee Kamala Harris as well, was what was going on in Dearborn, Michigan. It's kind of a microcosm of what's going on in the broader country, which is that they're losing out on not only the Muslim vote, but then a lot of people who support, or at least don't, I should say, push back against some of the atrocities that are happening in Gaza as well. And the American administration being seen as supporting that. So that was going to be the Achilles heel. But the fact that Kamala Harris has actually made an active approach to say, we're listening to the people who are on both sides of this. We're willing to take meetings on both sides of this. There's still a step further than Joe Biden has gone when it comes to appeasing that part of the dialogue. And I think that's where she started to see more supports, more of the independent voters who've looked at both candidates and say, actually, this might be a turning point for her. It's interesting, though, that comment came out from AOC, so Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, for our international audience. She is an up-and-comer in the Democratic Party. She's a congresswoman from New York, and also represents, of course, the Latino vote, the minority vote, and is aligned in a lot of issues with a lot of the Muslim vote as well.
Yeah, it's certainly very interesting to hear her comments at the event. Of course, Donald Trump doing his best to garner some of the attention, while very much political eye has been focused on Chicago, focusing on divisions between Harris and Biden. Is that getting any traction?
It's not getting that much traction. In fact, when you look at some of the pollsters, some of the kind of political strategists, the concern here for President Trump is that he actually hasn't been able to regain the momentum. There was always going to be that kind of knee-jerk reaction that you saw when Kamala Harris was going to be named the nominee, coming out kind of with a bang. But this was kind of being viewed initially, at least in the polling numbers, as a little bit of a honeymoon phase. And then we were expected to kind of see some of those polling numbers come back to President Trump in the lead. We haven't seen that yet. Now, we're still waiting till September, when there is, remember, it's still the summer period. People are still on holiday. Not everyone is as engaged in politics right now in the States. It's driving season, nevertheless. But in September, if you continue to see those polling numbers show the same lack of momentum, this is where you get into trouble. I think that's the concern around some of the campaign strategy in the Trump campaign right now.